Cam Rogers coming at you here for the Cam Rogers Show, episode 102 on this Friday morning. We thank you for coming along for the ride here. How's your Friday going? Say hi to me in the comments section. I always try to go back and respond, and I now have that blue check mark there with my professional page, so, no big deal or anything. But, yeah, I think that's definitely a peaking moment for me, folks. It's all downhill after you get the blue check mark, right? All right, folks, fun segment here. I am ranking in the top 10 NFL offseason moves. So I will count you down from 10 all the way to 1. Which team has made the big-time signings? Let's start with number 10 on my list here. And got to give some love to the offensive line. If you are a loyal watcher of the show, you know I love offensive linemen, especially this guy. Andrew Norwell going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. 5 years, $66.5 million deal with $30 million in guaranteed money. He is a premier offensive lineman in both run blocking and pass protection. Graded out as the third best guard last year, according to Pro Football Focus. Has never had a grade below 82.8 from his rookie campaign. Easily the most coveted offensive lineman in the free agency period. A ton of teams wanted this guy, talking about the Giants and the Colts and a few others as well. Nobody had the Jaguars on their radar to perhaps sign this guy. And they come out of nowhere, offer Andrew Norwell this massive contract, and immediately helps that Jacksonville offensive line that does have some holes. But I will say the interior is looking pretty good. Brandon Linder there at center is a good player. You got Norwell now at left guard. Solid center guard duo there. Right guard with A.J. Cann is still a bit of a concern. Somebody in the comments section recently said, what are you talking about? A.J. Cann had a great year last year. No, he didn't. He was awful. He sucked. So the Jags have to figure out right guard. But let me say this. Jacksonville has an identity. They want to run the football. They want to impose their will on opposing defensive lines. And Andrew Norwell will help in that process to a T. This guy is a fantastic all-around player here. And I think what the Jaguars are trying to do is they're trying to win like the Broncos did back in 2015 with a brittled Peyton Manning who is wearing down, and they ended up winning a Super Bowl. All right? The Jags are going to try to do the same thing, except Blake Bortles is not old and brittled. He's just inept and not as good as other quarterbacks out there. I mean, let's face it. He was one throw away from going to the AFC Championship. I get that, or excuse me, the Super Bowl. But, come on. It's Blake Bortles. So, Andrew Norwell, number 10 on my list. Let's go to a number 9 here, and we'll go to the secondary here, but we'll stay in the AFC South. Malcolm Butler going to the Tennessee Titans. 5 years, $61 million deal with over $30 million in guaranteed money. Really important signing considering the Titans really struggled against the pass last year. They were 25th. All right, so Butler really helps there, solidifies things in that back end. You've got second-year player Adoree Jackson as well, had a really good rookie campaign at cornerback. Kevin Byard is there as well at safety, really good player. Jonathan Cyprien has to step up a little bit at safety, but if that happens, it's going to be a good secondary for the Tennessee Titans. Butler's a solid player, although he did rank 51st among qualified cornerbacks according to Pro Football Focus. He's better than that. And I'll say one thing, all of a sudden, the Titans have a very scary defense. And oh, by the way, he reunites with Logan Ryan at cornerback as well, former Patriot there. So you look at, from a macro perspective, this defense. Jarrell Casey on that front line. Derek Morgan, Brian Orakpo, Wesley Woodyard, Rashaan Evans, right? That rookie that they got out of Alabama. Fantastic selection. The Titans are going to be a bad team. When I say bad, in a good way. Like, they're going to be scary, especially on that defense with new head coach and Mike Vrabel there in town. Watch out for the Titans this year. All right, so got Malcolm Butler there at number 9 in the top 10 moves of the NFL offseason. Let's go to a number 8 on my list here, and checking in is another member of the Tennessee Titans, Dion Lewis. Running back. Can we just call this Tennessee team the Tennessee Patriots? Like, that's where we're at here. But talk about this running back duo. From various perspectives, fantasy, reality, whatever, Dion Lewis and Derrick Henry is going to be a premier running back duo. Dion Lewis is a good player. He went off last year, especially in the second half of the season. Over the past 3 years, the Patriots, all right, have posted a 32-4 record with Lewis on the field compared to a 13-7 record when he was unavailable. New offensive coordinator for the Titans in Matt LaFleur there coming on over from L.A. He's going to have a field day with Dion Lewis. No player rushed for more yards in the second half of last season. Among all backs with 150 or more rushing attempts, his per carry average of 4.98 led the NFL in 2017. Great threat in the receiving game as well, and he's not going to have to carry the football 20 to 25 times. That's not going to be the ask of him. So he's going to be fresh throughout the year, and the great news is, too, I would argue the Titans have a better offensive line than New England. With Jack Conklin and Taylor Lewan there as the tackle duo, like them a lot. Ben Jones at center. I know producer Harris likes to make fun of Josh Klein, but he was okay last year at guard. So, I mean, he's overachieving too. So I think Dion Lewis is going to have a great year with the Tennessee Titans. Here's a macro question for you guys. Will the Titans make the playoffs in 2018? Let me know in the reaction poll. Give me a heart for yes and a like for no. I'll tell you this, I had them inside my top 10 in my latest NFL power rankings. So I'm buying in to the Tennessee Titans parade here. I'm thinking they're going to be a good team. Now, they're going to have to battle with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans and maybe even the Colts if Andrew Luck comes to town and is a healthy quarterback. A lot of uncertainty in this division. Could be hotly contested. All right, we've got Dion Lewis at number 8 in terms of my top 10 NFL offseason moves. Let's go to number 7 here, and it's Allen Robinson to the Chicago Bears. 3-year, $42 million deal with $18 million guaranteed. Talked about the aerial attack for the Bears earlier in the show, and it was essentially non-existent when you're talking about the likes of Kevin White, Kendall Wright, and Josh Bellamy and Deontay Thompson and all these guys. It's just like, not great. So, Allen Robinson, his best season came in 2015 when he caught 80 passes for 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns. Now, he is coming off an ACL tear, which he suffered in Week 1, but Chicago desperately needed wide receiver help, and I think Robinson is really going to aid in that process, perhaps be the number 1 wide receiver on this team if he can get back to that 2015 form. Because 2016 was a bit of a drop-off for him after leading the NFL with 31 catches of 20 or more yards in 2015. Robinson had just 11 in 2016. All right, so however you look at Robinson and the PR that he had going into 2017, a lot of good stuff. People were raving about him in training camp and preseason as well. So maybe he was poised to have a really good last year. Unfortunately, the ACL tear happened. Think he'll be a great player for Mitchell Trubisky. Probably would have liked Jarvis Landry a little more just because of the way in which Mitchell plays the quarterback position, but Robinson's going to be a great target in the red zone. He's a good all-around receiver. They also have Taylor Gabriel. He'll help as well. We'll see if Kevin White can be healthy for 16 games. Stay tuned for that. But for Chicago, just want to talk about their team in general here. They're going to be good, especially that defense. Vic Fangio, the DC there, going to have a field day. And Matt Nagy, the new head coach in Chicago, is a good offensive mind as well. So Allen Robinson checks in at number 7. Let's go to number 6 for my top 10 NFL offseason moves. And it's Ndamukong Suh going to the Los Angeles Rams. So it's Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh on that front line. Need I say more? Honestly, the interior of this front line for LA is going to be unbelievable. But so is that secondary. They got an elite secondary. They got a really good front 4 now. There is some question marks about perhaps the linebacking core and all that, but they have the pieces, the Rams do, to make a big-time run in the NFC and then into the Super Bowl. So I think the Rams have the formula to win against elite quarterbacks. And what do I mean by that? Well, a lot of elite quarterbacks in the NFL, Tom Brady, maybe you can even say Ben Roethlisberger as well, Drew Brees. They're pocket passers. How do you disrupt their timing? Interior pressure. Who gets interior pressure better than anybody? Aaron Donald. Who's second? Probably Ndamukong Suh. All right? So interior pressure is going to be the game for the LA Rams. And that's going to force Brady and Brees and all these quarterbacks off their spots. So I like the Rams a lot. By the way, Ndamukong Suh had a really good year in 2017. Everybody's like, quick to say, he's a problem in the locker room and all that stuff. And, that's up to your own interpretation there. But earned an elite grade, according to Pro Football Focus, back in 2017. So tallied 15.5 sacks, 181 combined tackles in his time with Miami, despite eating up double teams constantly. Like, teams game planned against him. So I'll tell you what, the Rams will be a force, and Ndamukong Suh will be a big reason why. He's at number 6. Let's go to number 5 here. Another Rams player, Marcus Peters, acquired from the Chiefs via a trade last February. So I've talked about this secondary, and it's shaping up to perhaps be the best in the NFL, even better than the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Minnesota Vikings or the Carolina Panthers or whatever. You got LaMarcus Joyner, Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib, John Johnson, and Nickell Roby-Coleman at slot corner as well. That is a good secondary. No, that is an elite secondary, okay? They're going to have a really good year in that back end, and Peters graded out as the 17th best cornerback, according to Pro Football Focus a year ago. Slowly trending upward in that category, too. Year in and year out, he is gaining in the ranks, according to PFF there. Peters has 21 interceptions since the 2015 season. That includes playoffs. So 7 more than the closest player here. Look at this. It's Marcus Peters, then it's a drop-off. Reggie Nelson, Kurt Coleman, who's now on the Saints. Micah Hyde had a good year with the Buffalo Bills. Darius Slay, an elite player at the cornerback position. But Marcus Peters is the top of the line right there. Now, I'll tell you what. NFL teams may have big-time off seasons. The Dolphins have had big-time off seasons before. Of course, we know the Eagles with the Dream Team and all that. The Rams are this year's kind of dream team, if you will. Are you buying into the hype for the Rams this offseason? Give me a heart for you're buying in or a like for you are selling. Let's slow our roll here a little bit about LA. Let's see how they all mesh together on the football field, which I understand. Some people don't like to buy into the offseason hype a little bit too much. Mitchell Renz here in the comments section here on Facebook Live has a great point. A lot of big personalities, but he trusts Wade Phillips, which I think is a very important point because Wade Phillips has dealt with egos before and personalities before. He's dealt with Aqib Talib and all these guys, and of course Talib is now on the Rams. So if anybody can do it and create chemistry on that secondary, it's Wade Phillips. So there you go. Mitchell Renz, appreciate the comment. You too can be featured here on the show, just like you, Quita, which I probably pronounced wrong. You say no, that you are not buying into the Rams and the offseason hype. All right, appreciate the comment there here on the Cam Rogers Show. Keep hitting me up. We will feature you here on the broadcast. All right, let's go to name number 4 on my list. And it's a wide receiver. Talked about him earlier. It's going to be Jarvis Landry, who is now a member of the Cleveland Browns. So nobody actually thought Landry was going to stay with the Dolphins, despite getting that franchise tag. And I'll tell you what, he's going to be a great piece for the Browns offense there, headed by OC Todd Haley, who is new in town as well. Tyrod Taylor is presumed the starter until further notice. We'll see when it becomes Baker time. But right now it's Tyrod time, and I'll tell you what, this is a match made in heaven for Tyrod. Taylor likes to throw the football conservatively, and he doesn't like to throw the football deep down the field, right? That's why he doesn't turn the football over a lot, because he doesn't really take risks. Jarvis Landry is the ultimate chain mover, the ultimate third down receiver. He's going to fit perfectly with Tyrod Taylor and how he plays the quarterback position. So I think that's why I have Jarvis ranked higher than Allen Robinson. This is not just about the player itself, guys. So think about that before you start yelling at me in the comments section. It's about the overall opportunity and situation. And for Jarvis, the situation is really great. And you look at the Browns' offense here, they're going to have to game plan around Carlos Hyde and Josh Gordon and other players like that. Maybe Jarvis Landry kind of flies under the radar here, right, and becomes a big-time receiver for the Cleveland Browns for whomever is playing the quarterback position. Whether it is Tyrod Taylor in week 1, whether it is Baker Mayfield, heck, Drew Stanton, who knows? So I like Landry a lot. I think he's a good player. He had over 100 receptions last year for the Miami Dolphins in a very bad quarterback situation with Matt Moore and Jay Cutler. Like, there you go. That just says all that you need to know there. So Landry checks in at number 4 on my list here for the top 10 moves this NFL offseason. I think I saw a comment about the 49ers. Well, perfect timing. Let's go to number 3 on my list, and it's Richard Sherman, cornerback now for San Francisco. 3-year, $21.15 million deal after being released by the Seattle Seahawks. He can earn up to $39 million roughly there, but it's reliant on many factors, like he's got to play a certain amount of games, has to win a certain amount of All-Pro honors and Pro Bowl appearances and all this stuff, so I won't get into the weeds there. But I will say this is a big-time signing because for so many weeks during the offseason, 49ers fans were like, we need a cornerback, we need a cornerback, we need a cornerback, we need somebody opposite Ahkello Witherspoon to solidify things in that back end. Sherman does that. And yes, he's coming off an Achilles injury, but he's still one of the great cornerbacks in the NFL. Is he a little overrated? Maybe, but I still think he is one of the top 7 cornerbacks in the National Football League right now, even with that Achilles injury in mind. Also, probably top 5 most intelligent football players in general in the NFL. He's in the class with the Bradys and the Mannings when he was playing. Sherman's a really smart guy. So he'll teach the younger players such as Witherspoon and K'Wan Williams and DJ Reed, who they drafted, how to be better players in that secondary. So Richard Sherman, big-time piece in that back end. And I'll tell you what, I think the 49ers have the potential to be a top 5 pass defense in 2018. I'm buying in. All right, we got Sherman there at number 3. Let's go to a number 2 on my list here. The Honey Badger himself, going to the Houston Texans, Tyrann Mathieu, 1-year, $7 million deal. Huge upgrade there in that secondary for Houston that desperately needed a playmaker. They got one in Mathieu here. Yes, he has durability issues, but he did play 16 games in 2017 and led the NFL in total snaps. So if he can carry that momentum into this year, that would bode well for Houston, which has good pieces on that defensive side, right? J.J. Watt, Whitney Mercilus, Jadeveon Clowney. If they can all stay healthy, then Houston will have a really rock-solid D there. Now, I think Mathieu just needs a change of scenery here, right? Because he did struggle a little bit in 2017 with the Cardinals. It was kind of out of character for him to not have the best year as we thought he probably should have. But now he's going to a defense headlined and coached by DC Romeo Crennel, and he's a good defensive mind. So despite losing Mike Vrabel, Crennel steps in, and I think he'll do a fantastic job. The Texans have Andre Hall and Jonathan Joseph in that secondary as well. Aaron Colvin comes on over from Jacksonville, good slot corner as well. So Houston's in a good spot, and Tyrann Mathieu is going to drastically change the way in which they play their coverages in that back end there. And I think Romeo Crennel is going to have an absolute field day. So health is so important for Houston, but there is a ceiling of a top 10, maybe even top 5 defense for the Texans if they can all stay healthy. All right, so Tyrann Mathieu is at number 2 for my top 10 NFL offseason moves. Let's go to number 1 on my list. It is a quarterback, the only quarterback, Kirk Cousins, now a member of the Minnesota Vikings. Fully guaranteed contract, $84 million. Easily the most coveted quarterback in free agency. Now, let me say this. he is not the best overall player on this list, right? I talked about this. It's all about the situation and the opportunity and the like, not just about the player himself. And the quarterback has to be at number one because supply and demand in the NFL is so drastically high in demand for quarterbacks, and supply is so low, at least for quality quarterbacks out there. When you have people like Scott Tolzien and Tom Savage playing quarterback, that's when you know the position is in peril in the NFL. So with Kirk Cousins here, I think it's a fantastic signing for the Minnesota Vikings. Is he a top 10 quarterback? We'll see. Is he top 12, top 13? Probably. And I think he's a Super Bowl winning type of quarterback. He can get there and win a Super Bowl. Guys, Case Keenum took the Vikings to the NFC Championship game. All right? He'll have a great supporting cast with Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs and Kyle Rudolph. That offensive line has to figure itself out a little bit there. But if Kirk Cousins doesn't go to a Super Bowl during this 3-year contract, big-time buyer's remorse for Minnesota leadership there. All right, so Kirk Cousins checks in at number one on my list. Let's summarize my top 10 NFL offseason moves. We've got Ndamukong Suh at 6, A-Rob at 7, Dion Lewis at 8, Malcolm Butler at 9, Andrew Norwell guard there for the Jacksonville Jaguars at number 10, and then 1 through 5. There is Kirk at 1, Tyrann Mathieu at 2, Richard Sherman at 3 there, Jarvis Landry at 4, and Marcus Peters at number 5.